welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a fascinating journey into understanding what makes us tick our personalities.
Right, and we've sifted through the core ideas of three major schools of psychological thought.
Yeah, Adlerian psychology, Jungian analytical psychotherapy, and object relations theory.
Exactly. For you, someone who wants to grasp these powerful concepts without, wading through dense textbooks.
Think of this as your express lane to some really illuminating stuff.
We've immersed ourselves in the foundational writings, the personality theories and therapeutic approaches of thinkers like Alfred Adler, Carl Jung.
And the key figures in object relations: Klein, Fairbairn, Mahler, Kernberg. Quite a lineup.
It is. Our aim in this deep dive is really to extract the most vital insights.
Highlighting the core ideas where these perspectives differ.
And where they surprisingly align, hopefully leading to some genuine aha moments about, human personality and how it develops.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with Alfred Adler. Now, his approach, individual psychology, was quite a shift from some earlier views, wasn't it? Like Freud's.
Oh, absolutely. What's really interesting is how Adler fundamentally disagreed with Freud's focus on unconscious sexual instincts.
Right, the whole libido thing being central.
Adler believed behavior is purposeful, sure, but he put the spotlight on social factors. And crucially, he adopted what's called a teleological approach.
Teleological. Okay, what does that mean in, practical terms?
Think of it like this. Instead of only looking backward at past events to understand why we do things.
Which was very Freudian.
Very. Adler emphasized that our actions are largely driven by our future goals, our aspirations.
So it's about where we're headed, unconsciously maybe, not just where we've been.
Precisely. It's about the destination we're aiming for.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. So what are the foundational concepts in Adler's way of looking at things?
Well, central to Adlerian psychology are the ideas of inferiority feelings and the striving for superiority. Adler proposed that these feelings of inferiority, which we all experience, in childhood.
Because of real or perceived weaknesses?
Yeah.
Physical, psychological?
Yeah, or social. It's a universal human experience, he thought.
Yeah, I think everyone can relate to feeling inadequate somehow growing up.
Exactly. And this universal experience fuels an inherent tendency, a striving for superiority.
Now that sounds a bit competitive, like wanting to be better than others.
Not necessarily. It's more an innate drive within us towards personal growth, perfection, a sense of completion, becoming the best version of ourselves, sort of.
Okay, so we feel that initial lack, that inferiority, and that motivates us to aim for something better. How does that shape our unique personalities then?
This is where the concept of style of life comes in.
Style of life.
Right. The unique ways each person chooses to compensate for those inferiority feelings and strive for that sense of superiority. That's their style of life.
So it's like the overall pattern.
Exactly. The theme that unifies their personality, how they navigate the world.
And Adler distinguished between healthy and unhealthy styles of life, didn't he? What's the crucial difference there?
The key differentiator, according to Adler, is social interest.
Social interest. Concern for others.
A healthy style of life has goals reflecting optimism, self-confidence, and a genuine concern for the well-being of others, of society.
And a mistaken or unhealthy style.
That's marked by self-centeredness, maybe excessive competitiveness, a drive for personal power or dominance, often at others' expense.
So it's not just about achieving things.
No, it's the motivation behind it and the impact on the community. That social connection is vital.
And Adler stressed the impact of our early experiences, right? Family stuff.
Huge impact, particularly within the family environment, on developing this style of life. He believed it's largely established by age 4 or 5.
Wow, that early.
Yeah. He specifically highlighted pampering and neglect as key dynamics.
Pampering and neglect. How do those influence the style of life?
Well, Adler suggested that kids who are excessively pampered maybe have few demands placed on them.
Spoil them, basically.
Kind of. They might not develop that crucial sense of social feeling, of responsibility. On the flip side, neglected kids.
Lack of care, attention.
Right. They might develop a deep-seated need for revenge, maybe a distrust of others. Both can really hinder developing a healthy, socially interested style of life.
So if someone develops a mistaken style of life, how does that link to, say, mental health issues or maladaptive behavior?
For Adler, what we call mental disorders, basically, are that mistaken style of life in action.
Okay.
They're characterized by unhealthy, ineffective attempts to overcompensate for those inferiority feelings,
Right.
and often intense focus on personal power, control, and critically, a real lack of genuine social interest.
And Adlerian therapy tries to fix that. What are the goals?
The main goals involve building a collaborative, egalitarian relationship with the client. It's a partnership.
Mutual respect, understanding.
Exactly. The therapist helps the client identify and understand their current style of life, the self-defeating patterns, the negative consequences. Ultimately, the aim is to help the client reorient their core beliefs and life goals towards something more adaptive, socially contributing, and, well, healthier overall.
I remember reading about a lifestyle investigation technique. What's that about?
Ah, yeah, the lifestyle investigation. It's a core diagnostic tool for Adlerians to really get a handle on the client's style of life.
How does it work?
It involves gathering detailed info about their family constellation birth order,
Yeah.
sibling relationships, parent relationships, the family atmosphere,
Okay.
and also exploring their early recollections. Adler believed those reveal fundamental beliefs about self and the world.
Interesting. What else?
It also looks at their fictional goals, those often unconscious guiding principles, any basic mistakes in their thinking, distorted beliefs, attitudes.
It sounds really holistic,
Mm.
looking at the person in their whole social context.
It is, and it's not just for individual therapy, is it?
No, definitely not. Adlerian principles are used super broadly. Group therapy, family counseling, marriage counseling, parent education.
Even in schools.
Absolutely. Shaping teacher-student relationships. A great example is the Systematic Training for Effective Teaching program, STET.
Oh, STET, right. What's the specific Adlerian connection there? STET draws directly from Adler. It operates on the idea that all behavior, even misbehavior, is goal-directed.
Okay.
It suggests kids' challenging behaviors usually stem from one of four mistaken goals: getting undue attention, striving for too much power, seeking revenge if hurt, or displaying inadequacy to avoid things.
4 goals: attention, power, revenge, inadequacy.
Right. And importantly, Adler believed each of these, even though they're misguided, reflects an underlying desire to belong, to feel significant.
That's a powerful idea. Okay, let's shift gears. Carl Jung and his analytical psychotherapy. His view on personality was also really comprehensive, wasn't it?
Oh, very. And like Adler, Jung took a broader view than Freud. He defined libido not just as sexual energy.
But his general psychic energy, life force.
Exactly. All motivations.
Yeah.
He also echoed Adler's view that future goals, aspirations, play a big role alongside past experiences.
What's really fascinating with Jung is his idea of personality emerging from both conscious and unconscious factors, right?
He saw the conscious mind, with the ego at the center, as our awareness of the present, oriented to the external world. Thoughts, feelings, memories we know about.
But beneath that, the unconscious.
The vast, influential realm of the unconscious. And Jung further differentiated it.
He did, didn't he? 2 layers.
Yes, the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious.
Okay, personal unconscious. That sounds a bit like Freud's idea.
It's somewhat similar. It holds our repressed or forgotten personal experiences, memories, feelings, stuff unique to us that slipped out of awareness.
But the collective unconscious, that's the really unique Jungian concept.
Absolutely central to his theory. He saw it as a universal, inherited reservoir.
Inherited from who?
From all of humanity.
Hmm.
Latent memory traces, predispositions, passed down through generations, shared by everyone.
Wow. And within that are the archetypes.
Exactly. Universal, primordial images, patterns of thought, feeling, behavior. They shape how we experience the world in fundamental, often unconscious ways, like blueprints for human experience.
Archetypes like the hero, the shadow.
The anima and animus, the self, the persona.
The persona being the mask we wear.
The social mask, the role we present to fit in. The shadow is the darker side, the stuff we don't acknowledge.
And the animus.
The feminine aspects in the male psyche and the masculine aspects in the female psyche.
And the self.
Jung saw the self archetype as representing our innate drive for wholeness, unity, integrating all aspects of the personality.
It's like we each have this inner cast of characters influencing us.
That's a great way to put it. Jung also talked about personality using fundamental psychological attitudes.
Extroversion and introversion.
Right. Extroversion, oriented outward, getting energy from others. Introversion, oriented inward, getting energy from solitude.
And the 4 functions. Thinking, feeling.
Sensing and intuiting. He believed we all have these functions unconsciously, but one or two usually become dominant in our conscious experience.
Shaping how we see and interact with the world.
Exactly.
Now, Jung's view on development, the timeline was different from Freud's, wasn't it?
Yes, quite significantly. Freud really focused on the first 6 years being formative.
Right.
Jung saw development as a lifelong journey, a process continuing throughout adulthood. He was especially interested in the transformations that happen after the mid-30s.
And this is where individuation comes in. That sounds key.
Precisely. Individuation is the core developmental process in Jungian psychology. It's that lifelong journey of integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of the psyche.
Leading to?
A unique, whole, more fully realized self. Jung thought a key outcome, especially later in life, is greater wisdom, often with a deeper interest in spiritual, philosophical questions, accepting life's complexities.
So for Jung, psychological problems weren't just about old childhood conflicts.
Not solely, no. From a Jungian view, symptoms or maladaptive behaviors can often be seen as unconscious messages.
Messages.
Yeah, indicators that something's out of balance. Some part of ourselves or some potential is being neglected and needs to be acknowledged, integrated for wholeness.
So what are the main goals of Jungian therapy then?
The overarching goal is to help that individuation process along, to bridge the gap between conscious awareness and the unconscious layers, personal and collective.
Helping people integrate all those inner aspects. Shadow, animus,
Right, moving towards a greater sense of self.
and the techniques involved.
Yeah.
Dream interpretation. Symbols.
Absolutely. The collective unconscious often speaks in symbols, so interpretation is crucial. Dream analysis is central. Jung saw dreams as valuable unconscious messages in symbolic language.
What else?
They also pay close attention to transference, the projection of feelings onto the therapist. Analyzing that relationship is key to understanding the client's inner world. And interestingly, Jungian therapists also look at their own reactions, countertransference, as clues about the client's unconscious processes, too.
It sounds like a really optimistic view of human nature. That emphasis on lifelong growth. The drive towards wholeness.
That's definitely a key takeaway. Jungian psychology really emphasizes that inherent potential in everyone to move towards greater integration and well-being throughout life.
All right, let's move on to our third perspective. Object relations theory. This one really puts relationships front and center for personality development, doesn't it?
Exactly. Object relations theory proposes our fundamental drive isn't primarily pleasure-seeking, like Freud suggested.
But object-seeking, relationship-seeking.
Right. Our innate lifelong desire to connect with others. This theory places huge importance on our earliest relationships, especially with primary caregivers.
And it's how we internalize those early relationships that shapes us.
Precisely. Object relations theorists focus on the internalized mental representations, often called introjects, of these early experiences.
Representations of the objects,
Yeah.
like parents.
And the patterns of interaction, the relationship itself. These introjects become a core part of our inner psychological world.
Shaping our sense of self, our expectations in relationships.
Influencing how we relate to others throughout life, like internal blueprints for relationships.
And there are several key figures here. Klein, Fairbairn, Mahler, Kernberg.
Yes, each with their own nuances, but all sharing that fundamental focus on the power of early relationships. Margaret Mahler's theory of separation individuation is a really influential example.
Separation individuation.
Yeah.
That's the baby developing a sense of being separate from mom, basically.
Exactly. Mahler outlined critical phases. It starts with normal infantile autism in the first month, self-absorbed. The normal symbiotic phase, aware of mom, but fused, no differentiation. Then comes separation individuation, starting around 4 or 5 months.
And that has subphases.
4 overlapping ones. Differentiation, starting to distinguish self from mother through exploring, practicing using new motor skills, exploring physically, feeling autonomous. Then reapproach. This is tricky. The toddler is more aware of being separate, wants independence, but also needs closeness, reassurance, lots of separation anxiety often.
Right, the push and pull.
And finally, object constancy, usually around age 3, developing a stable internal image of the caregiver as separate but reliable, maintaining connection even when they're absent, and a more cohesive sense of self, too.
It sounds like a really delicate, crucial period for developing a healthy sense of self and others.
Absolutely. And object relations theorists, Mahler included, see disruptions or difficulties in navigating these early stages as major contributors to later psychological problems, psychopathology.
So when things go wrong in those early relationships, How does object relations explain maladaptive behavior developing?
They see it stemming directly from abnormalities or unresolved conflicts in those early internalized object relations. Mahler, for instance, linked problems in separation individuation to specific adult issues.
Makes sense.
Many also emphasize splitting, a natural defense mechanism in early infancy.
Splitting, like good versus bad.
Exactly. The baby mentally separates representations of self and others into idealized good parts and frustrating bad parts. It's a way to manage overwhelming contradictory feelings.
Keeping those good and bad images separate.
Yes. And the theory is, if this early splitting isn't gradually resolved, if those fragments aren't integrated into more whole, realistic representations as we mature,
And then problems arise.
it can lead to significant difficulty seeing ourselves and others complexly, with both good and bad qualities. Otto Kernberg, for example, he views borderline personality disorder known for unstable relationships, intense emotional shifts as resulting from a persistent failure to integrate those positive and negative aspects of experiences with others.
Leading to those dramatic shifts between idealizing someone and then suddenly devaluing them.
Precisely, that lack of integration.
That really clarifies some of those intense relational patterns.
So what's the main focus of therapy from an object relations perspective? The central goals involve providing a safe, supportive, understanding therapeutic environment. This offers a corrective relational experience.
Helping restore their ability to relate more meaningfully,
Yeah,
realistically.
exactly. And a key aim is to bring those unconscious, maladaptive patterns of relating stemming from those early introjects into conscious awareness within the therapy relationship.
So they can be explored and processed there.
Right. It's about understanding those early internalized relationship patterns and how they're unconsciously replaying now.
So the therapy focuses on working through splitting those old defenses.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And helping the client integrate those fragmented self and object representations into more cohesive, realistic, and adaptive internal structures.
Wow. This has been an incredibly illuminating deep dive into these three major perspectives. Just to recap quickly,
Yeah.
we've looked at Adler's focus on social interest, striving for significance, Jung's exploration of conscious-unconscious realms, the lifelong individuation journey.
And object relations theory's profound focus on early relationships, those internalized representations shaping our relational world.
What's really insightful, I think, is how different their angles are.
Adler on social context, future goals, Jung on psyche depths, collective unconscious, object relations on early bonds.
Yet they all, in their own ways, really underscore how important it is to understand the underlying motivations driving us.
Absolutely, even if they frame those motivations differently.
It's a powerful reminder that there are multiple valuable lenses for looking at the complexities of being human. There's a huge landscape of thought out there.
Definitely. And we really hope this deep dive has sparked some curiosity for you, the listener, to explore these or other theories further, based on what resonated most.
Which leads us to a final, maybe provocative thought.
Okay.
As you consider these different perspectives, what aspects of your own early experiences, or maybe your future aspirations, might be most influential in shaping your Adlerian style of life?
Or your Jungian journey towards individuation. Or maybe, how might understanding that object relations concept of splitting give you a new lens for recognizing patterns in your own relationships?
Some truly fascinating questions to ponder. We really hope this deep dive provided a valuable shortcut to understanding some core ideas about what shapes us.
Yeah, hopefully it offered some useful insights.
We'll definitely be delving into related topics in future deep dives based on interest, so please do stay tuned.